is awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. All righty. Okay. All right, all right, all right. Hi, everybody. Alrighty. Okay. All right. Tonight, I'm doing a few shout outs because this has really been an incredible week for me. So far that I've heard, so many people are letting me know that they passed their exams. So I'm going to start out by giving a bunch of shout outs because this is really, really amazing. And I just got another one. Somebody else just commented that they passed their exam today as well. So I am so excited. This is really amazing when you think about like everybody that takes their time to pass all their tests and go through all these processes and things, and then all of a sudden in just one fell swoop I get a bunch of them saying that they took their test and they passed, and I cannot be more proud. I am so ecstatic because this week has just been just back to back to back really fantastic news from a lot of you, and so I am very proud, very, very proud to give these shout outs today. And a lot of them don't know I'm doing this because they just commented. So,
Oh, hey, I'm just going for a drive.
silent, silent. Okay. All right. Hi, Jamie. Hi, Beth. Hi, Liz. Hi, Raspberry. Hi, Jennifer. I'm getting ready to take my CCS at the end of May. All right. Thank you for all the blue hearts, Jamie. Thank you so much. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and start out with the shout outs because I made it on time for the live. So that is really awesome on my part. I like it when I make when I make it on time. All right. Let me get my screen going here. Okay. So, shout out time. First and foremost, I am happy to announce 4, not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 CCAs, brand new CCAs, and they all passed their test this week. Miss Sandra, she's the one who I know for sure she passed because she emailed me. So congratulations, Miss Sandra. Carolina, she just commented 6 minutes ago that she passed her CCA today. And then we've got Raising 3 Kings. I know she passed her exam today. That's number 3. There's one more. And Raspberry. Raspberry also passed her test too. So congratulations all that passed their CCA exam. And I got one more that told me today that she passed her CCS exam. So congratulations to you, Catherine. I am so proud of all of you. That's 5 brand new medical coders that have taken the time to study and go through all of the bumps and all of the craziness that is the time to study before your exam. And I just think it's fantastic when I get all this wonderful news. And it's nice when you get one, but I've gotten 5 this week, and I am just like it's it's like it happens all over again. You know what I mean? Like you get so excited for these people. And of course, granted, I've never met any of these people like in person, but it's just amazing that they're sharing their journey with me. I am so proud. I am so excited for their career and for them to, get out there and get into the real world and start looking for their first job and then telling me they found their first job. So that's the exciting part. I'm very excited for all of you. All right. Uh, there you go, Miss Andra. There you go. um, you're very welcome. So again, I am so glad, and I wish y'all all the best in your career, and I hope that all of you find all the joy and happiness in your career that I have definitely found in mine. So keep studying, whatever you do. Enjoy the moment this week, right? But do continue to study so that way you can be prepared when you are out there and you get those tests and from those employers, and all the madness begins again. Okay, TJ, no. TJ asks, hi, Blue, is your resume service, is it only for coders? No, actually, I've written it for other professions as well. I've written it for teachers, other administrative professionals. So I'm not just limited to coding. What I do, even though I have never been a teacher before, like as a profession, like actually like at a school, that kind of thing with children or anything like that, I've written a couple of those already. And what I do is I do my research, and I am a good writer. I love to write, and I like to describe people, even though that sounds a little weird, but I do it really well when I'm writing. And I take the time whenever I'm doing anybody's resume to get to know what their goals are. And I think that that's really important, because it's not just about, oh, here's a template and this is what you're going to put out into the real world. No, what I do is I think about their employer and what their employer is looking for, what I would be looking for if I'm hiring somebody. So that's what I do for anybody that I write resumes for. Yeah, I'm not just limited to medical coders. I've done it for pretty much a lot of other professions as well that I can't think of off the top of my head, because I'm so excited about all these people passing their tests. But yes, I can pretty much do anyone, so just gotta let me know. But yes, that's what I do. And also tonight I'm going to be talking about some questions that I got in the comments. About one in particular was about why did I say in one of my videos that because I said in one of the videos I was talking about nurses, and I said if you documented, then you need to at least put that down on the things that you did in your job. And somebody asked me, well, why did you say that if, they're not going to be documenting? No, but it does mean that these are nurses who understand the processes of documenting and what needs to be in this documentation, which if you're a hiring manager, it makes your ears perk up. Like, okay, this person not only knows coding, but they also know what the documentation should look like from their side of the house. So what better way to marry all of that knowledge and be able to get in the door than to say, hey, I did some of the documentation too. So I know the bullet points, I know what has to be there. And again, somebody who's a coder who already has that knowledge already will be a fast shoo-in, in my opinion, if they put it on their resume and if they put it down to where this employer knows. Because a lot of times what happens with nurses is that nurses will write their resumes like they're trying to be a nurse again. They'll tell me all about, that they know basic lifesaver skills, and they can do CPR, and they've helped with IV hydration. I don't care about that. If I'm looking for a medical coder, it's nice that you have these skills, because yeah, if one of my coworkers falls out, I'd like to know somebody can do CPR. I can do CPR, but I like to know somebody else can do CPR as well too. But it's all about showing your skills. And that's what I was trying to get across in that video. Now, don't let that bother you if you don't have any background in medical. I did not have any background in medical, because trust me, when I first started in medical coding, I wanted nothing to do with needles and being in the medical field, because to me it was just like, ew, blood, I don't want to do that. So I was not about that when I first started. I was like about the law. That's where I wanted to go. I wanted to be an attorney. That was my whole goal. It's still kind of a goal. I don't know, guys. But it was my goal back then to be an attorney. I didn't want to be around people and that. And I thought medical coders were, I even told my my case manager, I was like, oh no, I don't do nothing with needles. When he suggested doing medical coding, I said, I don't do nothing with needles. And then he said, oh no, this is about reading, and it's about, putting the documentation into codes for the insurance company for statistical purposes. And I'm like, oh, I could do that. And he's like, well, just check it out and see what it's about. And if you don't like it, if you're not hearing what you like, he goes, just come back and we'll get you in the accounting program. Because I'm a numbers person. I like numbers, very analytical as it is. And I was just like, yeah, I can do accounting, because that's what I was trying to get into. And he was like, well, what about medical coding? He goes, I think that would be a really good fit for you. This guy, he called it right, because I still say that medical coding found me, because I would have never have known, had my case manager at the time when I was unemployed, had he not taken the time to actually care and be about trying to figure out what would be a good fit for me, I may have ended up in a different field, and I may not have ever ended up here, because I sure as heck didn't know what it was before he told me what it was. So, that's where I think that things happen in life, and people find you, careers find you at the time that they're supposed to. And like all the stars aligned the day that I found out about medical coding. I'm just saying. I just had to, okay, all right. All right. So Raspberry says, I just had a test today, Blue. It was for E&M. Passing rate was at 80. I made a 79.2. And the test confused me. And the title said 2023 E&M test, but the questions were from 2021. I deserve another chance. Oh, Jamie, thank you so much. Thank you so much for all that you do for us. Oh, well, my pleasure. Raspberry, just go at it again. That's all I can say. You were this close. So even though the test was from 2021, and, we're here in 2023, and, the rules definitely did change from then till now. But I mean, you just have to kind of look at what they're asking you, because a lot of times that happens. People don't look at what's being asked of them, because sometimes these people, they write these questions in funny ways. So it's not like you have an idea of what they're thinking. That's why you have to kind of like look at everything that they're asking and just try to do your best. I mean, you're there. You just have to get over the line. But you can definitely ask them. I mean, ask them for another chance to take the test again. I don't know. But that's what I would do, But, going on with what I was saying, when you're writing your resume, and if you're taking the tips from the resume tips that I have, there's tons of videos on my channels, guys, about resume tips for brand new medical coders, or trying to get out there and rewrite your own resume, because not everybody can afford to have the resume rewritten. And I understand that. I still try to keep my price low. My price is still low considered the market, okay? But I do that for you guys, because I want you all to have a chance, if you can have a chance, to get your resume rewritten, but you can always do it yourself. There's nothing wrong with that. I always tell people, the main things that you got to do on your resume is you got to think about this resume as prime real estate, okay? No more than 2 pages. Some people can get it down to 1 page, and that's great. But if you need 2 pages, that's fine too, okay? Don't go past 2 pages. Do not go past 2 pages. Please do not be like these people on LinkedIn that I see with 4 or 5 page resumes, and they think it's the most fantastic thing in the world. No, that's why you're getting rejected, because you have too long of a resume. You're going too far back. I've said it before in many videos. You only go back 10 to 15 years. That's all you need. I don't need to know that you worked in the 90s, that you worked in the 80s, or that you worked in the early 2000s. I don't need to know that. The most current thing that you're going to have on your resume is anything between 10 and 15 years. Now, if you've been at the same employer for 20 years, that's something different. But if you've jumped around and you've gone different places and got a lot of different skills, that's fine. You can always put those on your skills list. And your skills list, I tell these people all the time, I tell you guys this, do not put any soft skills on your skills list. You should have no more than 12 skills on your list, and they should not be anything about organized, team player, a smiling face. If you do that, I'm immediately rejecting your resume, and so are a lot of other people, because of the simple fact that you're not understanding what skills means. Skills is your hard skills. These are the things that you learned in school, even if you have no experience. It's the things that you've learned in the school. So that way, okay, ICD-10-CM. My biggest pet peeve is when I see people ICD-10. ICD-10 what? There's two, ICD-10-CM, ICD-10-PCS. Do not assume that I know what you mean when you only say ICD-10-CM. You have to spell it out. And not only that, it's not ICD-10-CM/PCS. What book is that? There is no such book. ICD-10-CM is on one line. ICD-10-PCS is on another line. CPT, HCPCS. They all need their own line because they are all separate things. They are not the same thing, okay? 4 different manuals, okay? If you didn't have PCS training, that's okay. You don't have to put that on there. But you want to make sure that you put the relevant skills that you do have for medical coding. And when you look at the job listings, you'll also see that they're asking for medical terminology and anatomy and physiology and pathophysiology. Those have to be there. If you do not have those there, again, you're missing out, because that scanner that's scanning all of these resumes, it is looking for those words, because those words are in the job listing. Because I've had people write me and tell me, Blue, I'm so mad. I don't know what these employers want. It literally says it in their job listing. Literally. We want this, this, and this. Candidate must be this, this, and this. And yeah, sometimes they do say organized and stuff like that. But again, that doesn't need to be on your skills list. It doesn't. Everybody's organized at that point when they're trying to get a job. Everybody is. Everybody's a team player. And y'all know everybody is not a team player. And there's people that say, oh yeah, well, I'm super organized. And you know they are disorganized. So again, leave those soft skills off, okay? Interpersonal skills, again, leave those off. Those are for your cover letter. And yes, do write a cover letter and make it specific for that place, for that job. Don't make it to where it's a form letter. And please don't say, I am seeking an entry-level position to be able to advance my skills. No one cares. And I hate to say it like that, and I'm being blunt, yes. But the thing is, guys, when you are brand new at a school, you are trained, you have training. And yes, you have not applied it in the real world yet, but you do know what you're doing. So refrain from saying, I'm looking for an entry level. They know you're going to be entry level because you have no experience. You don't have to remind them of that. What you need to highlight is your skills. What are you bringing to the table? Are you bilingual? Yeah, you need to put that on your skills list. And people ask me, Blue, why? Why do I need to tell them I'm bilingual? You know, there was a lady, and I can't remember if it was Chinese or Japanese that she spoke. Somebody came to her facility. She was working in another department. She had been saying she wanted to get into coding. She had been going to school for it, and she was talking to them, talking to the people about it. And they said, we need somebody to translate, because the people were trying to pay their bill, but they spoke either Chinese or Japanese. And she could speak it. So they called her and they said, can you help us? So she went over there and did all the translating for them. And then they got her into that department. Now, had they not known that she could speak another language, they probably would have never called her. She probably would have never got that opportunity. But you have to let them know what your skills are. You can't just let them assume that they know your skills, because they don't. And they're not going to assume. Trust me, they will not assume that you know certain things. Hi, Alexandria. Hi, Lee. Susan. Oh, no. I've been a stay-at-home mom for 20 years. My resume will be empty. Not so. Let's talk about that. I'll get into that in just a second. Jamie, you are the reason I got my job. I love that. Thank you so much, Jamie. You helped me with my resume, and I got a call the very next day. I love that. I love that. That says something. That says how much I love this field. And it says how much I like helping people. I'm just saying. Jessica, I did the medical billing and coding program in a technical school, but the test that they give me is an NCCT test. So with you, I learned that after I have to do the CCA. Good. All right. So Susan, you've been a stay-at-home mom for 20 years. Your resume will be empty. Not true. You've been working in those 20 years. How are you working? How, Blue? I haven't been. You may not have gone to a place and picked up a paycheck, but you have been using your own skills. When you went shopping, did you use mathematical skills? Did you organize your kids' medicines? Did you take them to the doctor and keep track of their medical histories? Did you do that for your family? I bet you did. And if you didn't, did you do that for other people? Did you volunteer at the church? Did you have to teach children at the church? Sometimes people do that. They do Girl Scouts or Boy Scouts or whatever. And again, you're protecting children and their private information. Hello? What am I talking about here? I'm talking about those key words, guys. Those key words that you can use for your resume, because it is the truth, right? You had to do these things. You had to protect this information and keep it safe and keep it organized and do all of these things. Those are skills that are transferable to the job. And trust me, there's a lot of stay-at-home moms that do this. They transition into coding because medical coding is like 98% women. There's like 2% that are men, even though I am trying to encourage more men to get into the field, because I think to balance it out would be an even better thing for our field. But with that, just keep this in mind. They are all mothers too. They know what it's like to be a stay-at-home mom. I'm sure some of them know what it's like to be a single mom. I know some that are like, okay, well, I'm married, but I take care of the kids and I work and I do everything else and my husband does whatever, I mean, everybody has a situation, but they understand being a parent. Okay. There's a lot of people that understand being a parent. And when I got here, all of the people that I work with, all the ladies, all had kids, and they were all little kids. What's freaky is that they're now all out of high school and they're in college now. So that's a little strange, because they were like little. They were like 4 and 5 years old, like teeter-totter. And they still made time to be there with their family, and they still had time to do a great and wonderful career. And all of them have been doing it as long as pretty much I have. So, Hi, Christine. Okay, Susan, there you go. Yes, I did, and more. You see, think about the things that you did. Even if you did volunteer work, or even if you were a member of a club and you kept the money box, you know what I mean? Whatever, make sure that you get those skills on there. Don't clutter up your resume. Keep it neat, keep it clean. Get to the point. Don't make it into sentences like, some drawn out paragraph for every single job that you did. Don't do that. Get to the point. We want bullets. That's all we want. Okay. So it's not impossible for people who have not had a job in the last 20 years to get a job, because trust me, I've done the resumes for those folks and they've done quite well. So it is possible, but you have to know what you're writing. Stay away from those words, I'm seeking entry level. Again, that's going to immediately get you rejected, because they're going to think this person's going to need their hand held and we don't have time. If you are willing to do your research and look up the answers yourself, and then if you do get stuck, be able to ask a question. That's good, because that shows, hey, I've looked this up, but I don't understand what this means. And then they can explain it to you. Versus the person who wants their hand held and who says, oh, well, I don't understand this. Can you just code this for me? You're making the same amount or less than I am, but because you're brand new or whatever, you're making the money that the coder's making. So you should be able to do this. And that's what they're going to say to that person. Not me, I wouldn't say that, but I'm just saying. They're going to say that to that person, because they're going to try to discourage them from asking questions incessantly rather than trying to learn it on their own. And if you get stuck, then that's when you say, hey, I am stuck. Can you help me out here? Okay, You know, there's times when you get stuck and you need to bounce ideas off of somebody. But if for the most part you're trying to do this on your own, that shows a lot, and that shows integrity in your character, and that shows a lot that these employers are going to want to see. Okay, you have to give them a reason to want to hire you. It's not just a demand. There was somebody on that commented about a month ago or so that demanded that they were going to get a job because it's just common sense to get a job after you've been doing this, or they were going to do a chargeback on the school. And I was like, well, if you do that, that's theft, because the school did their job in order to train you, because that's what you're paying them for. It's on you to get out there and find your job. Everybody has this in the beginning when they start, that it's not the easiest thing in the world, and it will really take a dagger to your ego all the times you get told no. But if you give up so easily, then of course you're not going to get very far. But if you take that no and you say, okay, that just wasn't the place for me, I'm going to go to this next place that may be for me. And if you're in the interview and you feel like this is a great place for me, and you bring that energy is more likely to get reciprocated, rather than the person who's thinking, I'm so desperate, I just want to get to this job, I'm entitled to this. When you start having those kinds of attitudes, oh no, you're going to be waiting a lot longer to get your job, because you're not entitled. Okay, everybody had to work to get where they are. You know, even me. I mean, I took 2 months to find my first job, and people will write me angry and say, you didn't look long enough, you don't know what it's like. No, I know what it's like. I cleaned houses, I worked at a bar, I worked at a halfway house, I did all of these things while I was looking for a job in medical coding. And then when I was being told no, getting the door slammed in my face because I didn't have somebody like Medical Coding with Bleu to look at on YouTube. So my mom said, go back to the school and see if they can help you. I went to the school. They said, well, I have a friend who has a temp agency. Go over there. And I said, I don't want a temp job. Why do I want a temp job? He said, all of the temp jobs that you go on is going to be filler for your resume. That's more better than what you've got going right now, which is nothing. And I'm like, well, yeah, that's true. So I go over there, and a week later, they had an assignment for me that lasted 3 months. That assignment led me to my second assignment, which was 8 months. So I had less than 1 year of experience before I kept applying and I got into my forever home, which I am in now. So it's a struggle, it's a battle, and you're just like, oh my gosh. Oh, imagine being 3 months in, right? 3 months into your brand new career, that you're learning everything. And then you find out that you didn't get the long-term assignment. Okay, no big deal, whatever, you know. And then, and they, again, don't think I didn't get it on technical ability. I did have technical ability, they said, but they just went with another candidate, which was fine, because that lady was, and she wasn't somebody to want to work with anyway, you know. But when they said, okay, well, we have this other assignment that you can go to, and they go, but you have to move. So I had to move 8 hours away from my hometown. That's 8 hours away from my only social circle at the time, my mom, right? And I knew nobody where I was going, and I had no social structure, nothing. That was my first time living by myself, because I had went from my mom's house to my husband's house and then back to my mom's house when I was getting a divorce. But after all of that, I have to go and move to this strange city where I don't know anybody, and I have to build a life all on my own by myself. But I did it, and I did it afraid, but I did it. And then I got here, and here I've been here ever since then, you know. And so everybody has their journey. But had I said, oh no, I'm going to give up because everybody keeps telling me no, where would I be? I wonder that sometimes. But I believe that you always end up where you are supposed to be, but you can't give up if it's what you want, you know. And I hear wonderful stories all the time from people who say that they weren't going to give up, that they heard my words and they weren't going to give up. And one lady said that she started applying for the places that were still asking for experience. And now she's doing even better. She's got a great, great new job. And I couldn't be more proud because she took my advice of applying at places, even though they're asking for 3 to 5 years of experience. Again, happy coders are going to stay where they are, and employers are going to be at the mercy of whoever is applying. But they don't know you if you're not applying, okay? And it's free to apply. I'm just saying. Hi, Gwen. Susan says, thank you so much. You're the best. I'm going to have you do my resume when I'm ready. Okay, well, I'll be waiting on you then. But yes, so keep those things in mind. Keep it down to 1 to 2 pages for your resume. Leave off seeking entry-level position, organized team player. Leave those words off, okay? Those are like words that are, really just end up, your resume will end up in the trash, Keep it to 12 skills, okay? Don't go any longer than that. ICD-10 CM needs to be spelled out. ICD-10 PCS, never ever do ICD-10, okay? You know why I say don't do ICD-10? Because that says you don't have the detail. And in medical coding, it's all about the detail. If you aren't bringing detail, oh no. And so when I see this, when I'm looking at this resume, and I have never seen you before, and I'm looking at this resume and I see ICD-10. Next, Blue, that person could have been, no, because they did not pay attention to the skill. And that's the number one thing that we need to pay attention to is the detail. And if you can't tell me which one do you mean, PCS or CM, again, not enough detail. And that would be the person that I would reject. Just like that, Yeah, Jamie, amen. But yes, so that would be my advice on those resumes, okay? If you were a nurse, you make sure that you write down what electronic medical record did you work with? Did you use an encoder? Did you do any charge entry? Did you do that at all? If you've been a secretary or something, did you do charge entry? Charge entry means that you put in the codes basically and you're entering in the charges. That's what that means. So make sure that if you did that, that's on your resume because that is a transferable skill. You had to make sure that the codes that you were entering in were correct. So what codes were you entering in? ICD-10 CM, CPT, HCPCS. Those are the codes that you say that you were entering, okay? And then you were making sure that they were all correct. So those are the things that you need to pay attention to. Everything on this resume needs to count. Don't put too much and don't put too little, okay? Keep that time that you're writing everything that you've done to the last 10 to 15 years. And even if you've been a stay-at-home mom, it doesn't mean that you weren't working because there's plenty of things that you do as a stay-at-home mom. Stay-at-home moms work hard. And they do a lot for their family. They cook, they clean, they take care of the kids, they take care of their spouse. So there's a lot of things that they do, and there's a lot of transferable skills there. You just have to look at what the employer is asking for and what you have on your resume. And those cover letters, you treat them like the draw that they are. You don't treat them like a form letter. Because if I see I am seeking an entry-level position as a medical, no, next. I don't care. I don't want to see that you're seeking entry level because everybody's going to be entry when they have no experience. Everybody is. But just tell me more about what you learned in the school. That's what I want to know. Okay. And as far as gaps goes, if you had a gap, and sometimes it's that you weren't a stay-at-home mom, maybe you were just ill, or maybe that you went back to school. Well, there you go. There's your excuse. Well, not excuse, but there's your reason. And you don't have to go into a huge thing. When you're there and you're talking about, okay, well, you had a gap. Okay, because I had an illness or because I went back to school. That's it. You don't have to elaborate. They don't need to know everything. You tell people things on a need to know basis. That's what you do. You don't have to embellish and you don't have to say, oh, well, I was taking care of my family member and, they're sick and that kind of thing. Don't tell them. Don't tell them because they don't need to know. Okay. That's all I'm going to say. So, does anybody else have any questions on those resumes? How long am I doing? 30 minutes. Okay. I'm doing good. Oh, hi, Daniela. So, but yeah, that's what I have for my resume tips for this one. Let's see what else. And congratulating the 5 people that passed their test. I'm so excited. Elizabeth, I had a 16-year gap due to cancer, so thanks. And there you go. You know, and again, they don't have to know your reasons. You know, you can just say you went back to school. They don't have to know everything. Kraft says, are you supposed to still put your references, person, info on still on the resumes? No, actually, you have a list of those, right? But you don't include it on your resume. You only give it to them when they ask. Okay, you only give it to them when they ask, because you still have to start thinking like a coder, right? You have to protect the information. So you're not going to voluntarily give information unless it's asked for. Okay, and of course, all of the references, you need to make sure that it's okay with them before you give their phone number out. But now you're thinking like a coder. Okay, so don't give it until they ask for it. Okay. Kraft says, I wasn't sure if it was something that had changed. It's been a long time since I've updated my resume. And so you remember back in the day, it was like that you had to include your resumes, or you could say your references. But sometimes in the past, you could say references available upon request. Whenever I see that, of course, when I'm redoing a resume, I just take that off, because to me, it's understood, you know, that if they need references from you, that they will ask for it. So, but yeah, that's one thing that can stay off. And yeah, resumes, they do change from time to time. There's things that people say. Some people will tell me that, like, I follow a lot of channels on Instagram, of course, like medical stuff, you know, and then of course other things start coming up. Well, when I started advertising for my resumes on Instagram, all of a sudden I got all these resume writers. And so I kind of like don't really listen to other people, because I tend to do things my own way. Some of them say, oh, leave the objective statement off. Well, it depends on how you're writing the objective statement. Because to me, when I'm looking at a resume, what are you here for? Okay. And for some people, they'll put a professional summary, and not thinking that when you are a brand new medical coder, you have no experience yet. You shouldn't be saying this is your professional summary. Professional summary is for somebody like me who has experience, right? I would have a professional summary, because I can tell you this is what I have done. You, as a brand new medical coder, want to say this is my professional objective. There's a difference between summary and objective, right? So your objective is what? What do you want from this particular position? I mean, what is it that you're trying to apply for? You know? So again, leave off that entry level. Elizabeth says, passing the test will be enough for me, so I will pass the resume job to you when the time comes. Okay. Christy says, hi, Blue. My first time commenting. Thank you so much for taking the time to help us out in pursuing medical billing coding. You're welcome. Alexandria says, I'm jumping in late. Would you recommend listing insurance carriers you've worked with? If it's not a lot of them, but if it's like some of the major ones, like, you know, Medicare, Medicaid, yeah, sure, you can go ahead and do that. But if it's a lot, like you're going through a lot of them, then you can put commercial or government insurance, you know, to kind of like shorten it. You know, those are the kind of things you can do to shorten those things. But yeah, you can totally do that. So hope that answers that one. But yes, that resume is so important, because that's the first thing that these employers are seeing when they see you. All right. And you want that resume to stand out amongst all those other resumes that they're getting. Because trust me, there's people who think that it's okay to just copy a resume that's floating around out there on the internet based on, you know, this. No. When I see that one that's floating out there on the internet, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's horrible. It's horrible, guys. It is a horrible resume. And I will see it. I will see people copy it, and they'll copy it like it's nothing, because they think that it's okay, that's good enough. It's all about going the extra step above and beyond, guys. It's not about, oh, this is good enough. No, you've got to stretch it. You've got to be able to say, okay, this was my best. I did my best to do this. You know? Jennifer says, I'm an older woman who is a nurse and do have gaps and is taking the CCS test next month. I have a lot of different skills. Where do I start with when writing a resume? So you must have come on a little bit later. So I'll say it again for my nurses that are out there and that have a ton of skills. Okay, you're not trying to be a nurse again when you're becoming a medical coder. You're not. So, but what you want to do is you want to take the transferable big parts, right? Did you work with the electronic medical record? Did you do charge entry? Some nurses do charge entry, okay? I don't need to know that you know BLS, basic lifesaver skills. I don't need to know that. I don't need to know that you can do CPR, although it's great. I don't need to know that. I don't need to know that you can hook up an IV and that you've done all of these other things related to nursing, changing wounds and things like that, wound care changes and stuff. I don't need to know that. What I need to know is what skills do you have? What did you learn in the school for medical coding? ICD-10-CM, CPT, HCPCS, medical terminology, anatomy, and pathophysiology. That has to be on there. You don't want any more than 12 on your skills list. Do not put on there that you are organized, that you're a team player, that you have interpersonal skills. I don't care. When it comes to your skills, it has to be your hard skills, okay? Tell me what your hard skills are. ICD-10-CM, CPT, HCPCS, ICD-10 PCS, since you're taking the CCS exam. I know that you have to be good at PCS too, so make sure that you put that on there, all right? Those are the things that you want to focus on, all right? And if you have time in between gaps and stuff like that, it's fine. What did you do in between time? Were you getting educated? Okay, that's all you need to say. I was getting my education. That's all they need to know. If you had other stuff, other family stuff going on or other personal stuff, they don't need to know, all right? We want to keep the things to a minimum that they need to know, but we need to show what we have as a medical coder. What are we bringing in? Did you work with providers? Those are the types of things that you need to say. Okay, again, I don't need to know all of your technical stuff for nursing. That's if you want to be a nurse again. But if you don't want to be a nurse again and you want to be a medical coder, concentrate on the things that can transfer over to being a medical coder. Okay. Daniela says, objective statement was left out by my professional resume writer and recommended a cover letter instead, yet statistics say that 90% of recruiters hiring don't look at cover letters. Again, because a lot of people will use it as like they'll use a form letter. I am seeking an entry-level position. I just fell asleep. I fell asleep. Tell me why. Tell me, what are you looking for? And professional resume writers don't always get it right either. I'm just saying. And my track record with resumes, well, my track record can speak for itself there. Jessica, can I try to find a job with the diploma from the school and the NCCT before doing the CCA? You can, but sometimes they're going to want you to be certified within a certain amount of time. So just make sure that you're prepared. Because if you get this job and you say, hey, in 6 months, I'm going to be taking the CCA. And if they say, okay, your job is dependent on the fact that you pass that exam in 6 months, then you're good to go. Because not everybody is a certified medical coder when they start. However, you have to keep in mind, if you don't have your certification walking in, you cannot expect them to pay you what they would pay a medical coder. And you cannot expect them to jump you up to what a medical coder makes, even when you get your certification, because now they already have you. Now you're getting experience and doing all that stuff. So by all means, yes. However, I know that program, that NCCT program, is not as detailed. So as long as you are doing your studies on your own and you're augmenting with those workbooks that I recommended in the description box of other videos. It's not in this video right now because I use the other one. It's just a template. But if you look in any of the other videos, you'll see the books that I recommend. Get with those workbooks and work with them. So that way it can prepare you for the CCA, number one. Number two, it's going to make sure that you are really ready, because you're going to be missing out a lot if you're just going to be taking the skills that you learned in medical billing and coding school And, you know, it's just barely scratching the surface. You have to really study because you got to know PCS as well for that CCA exam. I'm just saying. Elizabeth says, guys, pay Blue to do your resume. The free valuable information she gives on her channel is already priceless. Oh, thank you, Elizabeth. I appreciate that. But yes, so take my advice or don't take my advice. I mean, it's up to you when it comes to, you know, objective statements and cover letters and things like that. But all the resumes I've been doing and all the good comments and feedback that I've been having. Okay. So that's what I have to say about that. Now, going back to what your goals should be when you're going out there and you're looking for a job. Keep this in mind. They're going to tell you no a lot. And even if you get an interview, you may get an interview and you may be so excited and you want to get this job and this is going to be for you, right? But then you get there and they say, well, we want to go with another candidate. Don't be so heartbroken. Just take the experience, say thank you, and move on. You thank them only one time, okay? You don't have to profusely thank them. You don't have to, you know, say, and oh, I need this job and I'm begging you for a job. Don't do that, guys. Have respect for yourself and make sure that when you're out there, you conduct yourself accordingly, even when you're on LinkedIn. As frustrated as you may be, do not ever air your dirty laundry on LinkedIn, because LinkedIn is a tiny community. Once you start friending one person and then all of a sudden you're friending a bunch of medical coders, now all these medical coders see you. Trust me, there's a manager in there somewhere. I had to block one lady because she was absolutely obnoxious with the amount of complaining that she did because she couldn't find a job. No one wanted to hire her. And then I saw her resume and I could tell you exactly why. But because she wanted to sit here and complain, and other people were trying to help her. They were trying to give her advice and tell her where to go and do all these things. But this lady wanted to complain. So when you're like that, everybody's going to know. And when I talked about it on the show one night, when I was talking about what not to do on LinkedIn, everybody knew who I was talking about. And I didn't even have to mention a name, but they already knew. Because you make a name for yourself when you're on these social media networks. You know, people see and they watch your behavior. There's a lot of things that people do trying to get attention or trying to do this and trying to do that. But then you see other people. There's one I see on LinkedIn. She's a CPCA. The best thing about her is that every single post that she does is a tip about pathophysiology, about medical terminology, about anatomy. She's got tips and that's all she posts. And these are very helpful tips. She's not even a coder yet, or she was a brand new coder or something like that. But I was like, that's the way to build a network. That's the way to do it. Not by complaining and telling people, why won't anybody hire me? They're like this, guys. You have to stick with it if you want it. You have to fight for it if you want it. And there's some country song that I like to listen to, and that says, you got to chase your dreams because your dreams ain't going to chase you back. It's the truth. I'm just saying, you know. But yes, so that being said, hopefully that'll give you some push to get out there and get your resume going, take it seriously, get it going right. Get your mind right when you're out there and you're applying. Know that the rejections are coming. And know that when you go through every single interview, that interview may be getting you to your forever home. It's just like dating, right? You go through all these horrible dates to get to your final spouse, you know what I'm saying? And you have to go through all these things. It's the same thing with these interview processes. You go through all these horrible dates to get to your forever home, you know? So Daniela says, I just ran an interview yesterday. I just had an interview yesterday and got a rejection email today. I sent a thank you email and asked for feedback, and they did. I was grateful for the experience. There you go. Alexandria says, that was smart and very adult. Some people will respond to these and some people will not. So just keep that in mind. It's great that you asked for feedback. It's even more wonderful that the people were willing to give you feedback. Some will not, you know. And when you take these tests, these assessment tests too, I've had people who say, well, I failed the test. So I asked them if I could take the test again. And sometimes the employer will say, yes, here, you can take the test again. Sometimes they do better and sometimes they do worse. So it really all depends. But building that communication with the future employer or potential employer is always a great thing. And again, it gives you practice for the next one. And you start building your confidence and you start learning all these things about these different places. If you pay attention to what it is that they're asking for, and what is this person looking at, and what does this facility want, and what kind of language are they using here, those are the types of things that make you successful, guys. I'm just saying. So Alexandria, bad interview equals equivalent of a bad date. Yes, very true. Very true. But that's the way you got to look at it. And you have to have a little bit of humor, because if you don't laugh sometimes, you'll cry, right? And you don't want to do that, guys, because it's just part of the process. That's all this is. It's just a part of the process. And it will lead you to a great career and a great future if you let it. But again, if you get scared off easily, if people hurt your feelings, you have to work on those things, because you have to be strong and you have to be assertive. You have to be tough, and you have to, have the right amount of everything in order to be the whole package medical coder, because that's what you want eventually to get to, is to be the whole package, where you can talk to just about anybody and you can figure things out, and you're proactive, and you're making sure that you are not just saying, I don't know, that's not my job. You're asking questions and you're inquiring, and you try to acquire that knowledge so that way that you can help others. Okay, because that's the best way to be able to move forward, is to make sure that you know as much as you can about as many topics as you can, and that you don't fear anything. I don't fear anything now when it comes to medical coding. Doesn't matter the specialty. All right, I've been in orthopedics and podiatry for the last 10-12 years now. 12 years, I say, full time in podiatry and orthopedics, and I love it. But could I go some place to another specialty and be able to pick it up? Yes, I could, because that's how confident I am, based on the fact that I know how to do research. And when you know how to do your research, the rest of it just falls right into place. So yes, learn from your bad dates. Exactly. You learn, and it's just like being at an employment, right? At a place of employment, and deciding that you don't like this particular type of environment. Okay. When I worked at home for a level 1 trauma hospital, right? We worked out of a queue situation, right? So everybody, all the coders were not assigned to particular providers or particular clinics. Everybody had to code from the same queue. So basically there's all these encounters that will filter in, and then you just pick one. And if somebody is not in that record, then that's what you code. And so I would get a lot. This is a level 1 trauma hospital. Okay. So I would get a lot of, and I worked in the evening, so I would get a lot of really gnarly accidents. I mean, really gnarly accidents, which I don't mind, because I do orthopedics, you know what I'm saying? So it's not a big deal. I know injury coding, I know external causes, no big deal. However, it will mess with your productivity. And so I was just like, I was assured that there was appendectomies and colonoscopies and, other things that I could code to kind of like, okay, get my numbers up when I had the really hard ones. But this is like hard one after hard one after hard one after hard one. I'm like, what is this? So I talked to my boss and I'm like, hey, what's going on? She's like, well, let me look at what you've been doing. She's like, oh my gosh, Blue. She's like, oh no, we've got a problem here. And there's apparently coders that are skipping. So even though they may say that, oh no, coders here, we don't skip and everybody works from the same work queue, if I can absolutely avoid it, I will not work in a place where I have to work from a work queue with other coders. I want my own clinic. I want to be assigned someplace. If I'm being a rover, that's different. If you're being a rover, that means that you go from clinic to clinic and you're there for maybe a month, and then you go to another clinic for another month or so, so you're switching around that way. But when you have to share the workload like that with a bunch of people, and then you get people hopping around, oh no. I will never do that again. That I will put my foot down on. I insist now, and because I have experience and time in, I can pretty much get what I want when it comes to, if I want to work someplace, I need to make sure that that clinic is mine, or that I have certain providers that are assigned to me so that they get their information from one source, and that's me. Because the problem, if you're working in a partnership is great. However, if you're working with a partner in a clinic, you need to make sure that you're on the same page when it comes to coding. If you disagree on certain things, then if a coder your partner says to the provider one thing, and then you come back and you say another thing, now the provider doesn't know who to listen to, and now it's a problem. So that's why I say, if you work with somebody, make sure y'all are on the same page. Make sure you show a united front whenever you're working together and talking to these providers, If not, it's chaos. I prefer to maintain my clinic. I prefer to maintain my providers. They come to me if they have a question. They do not go to each other. They do not go to somebody else. They do not go to their buddies at another facility. They come to Bleu. And they know this because I tell them all the time, we are not going to go through this. I have y'all trained a certain way because this is the way that it's for y'all to be compliant. And for me to be able to get through these notes efficiently and quickly, and to be able to find all of the credit that I can possibly find for you all. That's what we do here. It's when people start going rogue, things go bad. I'm just saying, Elizabeth says, I'm a strong woman and a people person. I want to learn everything I can about coding inpatient and outpatient, but I'm leaning more towards outpatient. Outpatient is my playground, so I totally understand that. Alexandria, I think the cover letters show your attention to detail and that you cover all of your bases. Exactly. So when people say that, and I've heard it before too on other resume, things, that they say, oh, you don't need a cover letter. And a lot of people don't believe in the cover letter, but like I said, with the cover letters, it's more about your personal hook. It's more about like your soft skills and what other things can you bring to this position. What are you looking to gain to get here? That's what that is for. And some people don't believe in it, and I mean, that's fine. It's whatever. But to me, whenever I do resumes always come with a cover letter. So whether you choose to use that cover letter or not is it totally up to you, but the price will stay the same. I'm just saying. Ashley says, do you feel medical coding is a competitive job? It is very competitive. Do you ever see the memes where they show the peacocks, right? And they say medical coders are like peacocks, where we show our feathers to each other. It's true, because medical coders compete with each other when it comes to knowledge, when it comes to experience, when it comes to, the things that they've done, and even sometimes with their credentials. Credentials off the table for a second. When you think about like all of the experience and stuff, when it comes to being competitive, and when it comes to what have you done versus, your experience level and how many years have you been in and things like that, I mean, it can get really sticky really fast, especially when you're doing audits and somebody has a degree, and sometimes they try to like fluff up because they got a degree. Okay, you got a degree. I'll give you that. But it doesn't mean that you necessarily understand the coding, right? And then sometimes they have a degree plus a credential, so they do show competency that they do understand the coding part. Now, then it becomes okay, let's understand each other here. Let's get this worked out. But yeah, it does get very competitive, and sometimes the amount of arguing, not like fighting, but arguing like, this is my point, this is my point. You get like that, and it gets very top dog-ish. Who is a top dog? It does get like that because that's what we do. And I think we spend so much time educating ourselves, and we spend so much time reading these things. We have to know what doctors know, well, never having gone to medical school. And we spend so much time doing this that we want to be right. And then we get competitive with each other, and then we get competitive for jobs, and there's a lot to it, but yes, I do think that it's very competitive, but I do think it'll push you. Oh yes, it will push you to learn more, because there's some people that insist No, I'm right. No, I'm right. I had this one lady, I was training her, and I wasn't a medical coder very long, but I knew the clinic very well. And that was why I got the job here, you know. So I was helping her out, you know. She came over from billing. She was not certified. And when I was trying to show her, okay, this is the reason why this, and then she kept making the same mistake. So I showed her in the guidelines. And she's like, no, I don't believe in that. I don't agree with that. And I said, okay, well, and she's like, no, I'm right because. I was like, okay, well, and then I'm like, I'm trying to explain to her, I'm trying to like be nice about it, you know, and she kept insisting that she was right. I'm like, look, this is what the guidelines say. And she's like, well, no, I'm right because. I said, okay, you know what? When you get your certification, you come back and talk to me. It was about 3 months later, she went and got her certification. So I did encourage her to do the right thing. However, then she understood after, when she got her certification, why I said what I said about that guideline. I can't even remember what it was, but I know it was about the guidelines. Then she understood it. I don't think she'll ever forget that one now. But hey, sometimes you have to tell people, because otherwise they'll just be like, oh, no, I'm right. Okay, well, show me why are you right, and I'll show you why I think I'm right, and we can come in the middle, you know, get in between. But if not, you know what I mean, then it's just like, oh, I'm just right, I'm just right. You can't do that. You know, when it comes to coding, there's going to be times when you're going to be wrong. You may be wrong at some things, and it's okay to be wrong. But you learn from your mistakes and you move on. That's what you have to do. Because if you can't do that, if you don't have the maturity to do that, you know, then you're going to be missing out on a lot. Because people who shut down and think that they're right and don't want to listen to anybody else, those are the ones who lose out. Not the ones who say, oh, that's why. I'm just saying. Christy says, hi, Blue. Have you already did a video on where medical coders besides working in hospitals or clinics? No, but I think I have answered that one before. Like, they work like in law offices, like as like subject matter experts, you know, in law offices. They do that for these law offices that do like a lot of medical claims. They'll need coders, right, sometimes to look at what's what does this mean, explain this to me in English. So yeah, they'll work there. Sometimes they work in dialysis centers, of course, urgent care centers, nursing homes. You know, there's a lot of variety of places where coders work. But I don't recommend working in private doctor's offices when you're brand new, because typically in the private doctor's offices, those people, it's the spouse is usually doing all the billing side, okay? And so they usually have, well, we do it this way here. And so sometimes when I hear from coders, they're just like, I don't know, because like I feel weird because I disagreed, and I don't know if I should say anything. You say something. When you disagree, you absolutely say something to those people, because that's the difference between getting paid and not getting paid, you know. So I always recommend, if you're a brand new medical coder, go for some place like a hospital, you know what I mean, someplace that's big, that's going to give you lots of experience, you know. You're not just going to be sheltered into one type of specialty, like if you're going to a private doctor's office. And again, the benefits are not always the greatest when you go to a private doctor's office. A lot of the times, sometimes they are, you know, but you have to think about it. They're a small business, and not all doctors are good businessmen, okay, or women rather, persons, okay. Not all of them are good at business, all right. And so again, they have their spouse taking care of all of that, and the spouse pretty much runs the show when it comes to those types of things. So that's just something to kind of buyer beware when it comes to applying, you know. Crab says, I'm competitive against myself. LOL. Always wanting to find out what I didn't get right before and improve. I love to learn things. Yes, you know, and that's the best way to be, I think, you know, at least in my opinion. You know, it's the best way to be. When you push yourself to learn, it gives you something to look forward to. And when you start learning how you learn well, you know, you're able to get out there and really expand, you know, and learn even more, you know, about what you're doing, you know. But it's just all about how much do you want to push yourself. And, competing with other medical coders, it does sort of do a good thing too, because it pushes us to want to reach different heights. Sometimes people will, not really think that being certified is important, but then they'll see somebody else that is certified and they want to get certified too. And so it kind of pushes them, like the woman I was talking about just a few minutes ago. It pushed her to get her certification, but it was just like, okay, why do we have to argue about this? You know what I'm saying? But it did help because she did get her certification. I'm just saying. Alexandra, yep. So, but we compete against ourselves, and that's the thing. That's the best way to be, though, is when you compete against yourself. Because sometimes if you try to compete too much with others, then you're running a rat race, because somebody's always going to be better than you. There's always going to be somebody better than you. Always know that. And it'll keep you humble, okay? There's always going to be somebody who's going to be better than you, bigger than you, faster than you, stronger than you, smarter than you, always. So compete with yourself and make sure that you understand that you can only do the best that you can do as long as you put in the effort, Alexandria, my first job since being certified as CPCA is probably not going. My first job since being certified CPCA is probably not going to be my forever home. They aren't big on teaching, and that's part of it too. That's something that a lot of people think about too, is that the first job is their forever home. It's not, guys. It's typically not going to be your forever home. It's usually a pit stop for you to, like, okay, this is what it is to get started. And then you take that experience and you move on. But it's all about knowing that you do have options. If you were able to get that job, trust me, you'll be able to get another one, Hi, Casey. Alexandria, they showed me my desk and let me go. Good in some aspects, scary in others. Yep, they were of the old school sink or swim. They're sink or swim, so, that's, I mean, it's good and it's bad, so it really all depends, but a lot of places will not hold your hand. They want you to do your own work. They want you to be there for yourself because no one was there for them. And that's something that's a part of this industry, It's sad and it's unfortunate, but it is, and it's the reality of it all too, that they won't help you. But that's why you have to learn to do your research, so that way, you can be of assistance to others, because it doesn't have to always be this way, with medical coding and medical coders, it doesn't always have to be this way. It can change. Things can change. It's like when people would complain before about the CCA, and I was like, oh no, I'm going to start showing what the CCA can do. And me having it for 13 years and constantly being on my channel about how good and how positive and how great the CCA is. CCA has the most domains, specific domains, of all the medical coding certifications. It is one of the most difficult exams to pass next to the CCS. CCS is a 4-hour extended version of that test, right? It's a more advanced version of that test. But the CCA is a great credential, and there's a lot of people that do look for it. But there's a lot of ignorance out there, and I've been fighting that ignorance since I got that credential. But it's not going to stop me. I'm going to continue to advocate for the CCA. CCA is a wonderful credential, and I'm so proud of the 4 that got it this week alone. That's just fantastic. That's really, really wonderful, and I'm so excited for them. Let's see. Alexandria says, I love not having a micromanager. Yes. But I didn't even meet my manager until 2 weeks later. That is a little scary. Casey says, I work from home, but the rules are very, very strict. Hello. Every second we are on the phones, we are being monitored. We are micromanaged all day long at my job. Oh, heck no. No. That is not for Blue. That is another thing I will put my foot down about. I will not be micromanaged. That is one thing. I'm an adult. You're an adult. I do my job. Let me do my job and do not micromanage me. I have been under a micromanager before. That was not a good time. I did not perform well because I can't take it. I can't take the pressure. To me, if you feel like you constantly have to watch me, what are you even doing? You know what I'm saying? Like, I do my job. I do my work. And you want to sit there and be like always on me all the time? Oh no. No, no, no. No, 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 no. Not for Blue. Do you work for yourself? Yes and no. I do have a full-time job. I do work at a hospital. And of course, I do all of this. I do YouTube, Patreon, professional coaching, tutoring, resume writing. All in my spare time. So I do all of these things. And yes, that does make me consider me working for myself. So yes, I do work for myself. But that's just something that's just developed here within the last couple of years because, because of the channel and the growth of the channel and everything else. For a long time, I did not write resumes. I was like, oh yeah, I can consult on what's, wrong on your resume, but I don't write resumes. That changed. And so now I write resumes. So, but Alexandria, I work for a FQHC. That's a federally qualified healthcare center, if you didn't know, in North Carolina. Casey, exactly. Thank you. I agree. Casey, yes, it is an enormous amount of pressure. Yes, it is to be micromanaged. It is. Alexandria, Bleu has the energy of my youngest child. Zoom, zoom, zoom. Trust me, it's a challenge sometimes, but I get there. And what gets me there is you all and the fact that you encourage me. And believe it or not, you all do encourage me because of your persistence in this field and wanting to get into it and doing all of these things, passing these tests. I mean, isn't that incredible? 5 people passed their exams all in the same week. I've been getting this information since Sunday night, that's all I'm like, very cool. Let's see. Casey says, so do you work remotely for the hospital? You seem very skilled and intelligent. That hospital is blessed to have you. Thank you so much. When it was a pandemic, they sent me home. Bleu did not do very well at home. No, I do not like working at home. I have worked at home in the past for a level 1 trauma hospital. That was a good experience, right? But we weren't on pandemic time back then, and so it was great. With that job, I could work whenever. Okay, it was a really great manager that we had at the time when I first signed on, who just only cared that you got your work done. That was all she cared about. And so, I mean, a wonderful lady. But then of course she left, and then of course here we go. So but I've worked at home before. The first experience I had, I liked it. The second experience working at home, no. And as soon as I could get back to the hospital, I went back. I have my own office, which helps me. But I have to be there because my providers did not do well with me being away from them either. They were used to me being in the hospital and being around them because I wear high heels, but they're not high. They're just like about that big. They're Life Stride shoes. So you hear me click-clacking down the hallway. And they know when they can hear me coming down the hallway because everybody else wears sneakers. I'm the only one who wears heels. And so whenever I need them to look at a query or, give them education or whatever, I can be there in person. And that's better for them because they don't like email. None of them like email. And so that's just the way that they are. It's a new batch now, new batch of providers. But the batch back then was like, oh no, we don't like you being away from us, Bleu. This is too much. It was too much for me, and so yeah, I will, from now on, I will be at the facility, but that's just me. Other people in my facility are working at home. They do work remotely. They are very happy to work remotely, and I am okay with that. Y'all do y'all's thing. I will stay here in my happy little office in my clinic with my providers. So yes. Kraft says, for the call center, I work from home and they want to know when you use the, oh, come on. Oh, heck no. Kraft says, I can't wait to finish my CPC class and certification. I don't blame you there, ma'am. I do not blame you there. Yes, Alexandria. Elizabeth says, in my course, we are studying with the NHA. What do you think about them? No. No one asks for them. Their test is very easy, and it's not looked for. If you want to be a medical coder, if you want to be taken seriously, you have to be certified through AHIMA, the American Health Information Management Association, or AAPC, the American Academy of Professional Coders. Either one of these. All you need is one certification. You do not have to go through AAPC. A lot of people say, oh, AAPC test is easier. No, it isn't, because there's plenty of people who fail those tests too. AHIMA does not require you to be a member of their association, but AAPC does. And AAPC requires more CEUs than AHIMA. AHIMA for the medical coding certifications, the CCA, CCS, CCSP, 20 for one. AAPC, 36 for one. 36 continuing education units that you have 2 years to get. And yes, while you can get some for free, it's not always easy to find them, okay? So that's just something to keep in mind. I mean, that's an additional cost, plus the membership fee, $205 every year. Now, you do get perks out of it. You know, you do get some CEUs out of it and that kind of thing. But still, it's a lot of money to be able to maintain your certification. AHIMA doesn't have that. AHIMA will charge you separately to report your CEUs, but they don't, I mean, it's what they charge to report the CEUs is not the $410 for the 2-year cycle like AAPC charges their people. I'm just saying. Tawana says, me too, AAPC. Did she write the guidelines? Did who write the guidelines? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. What is your question? But yeah, so that's just something that, you know, I mean, that would be what I would recommend, is that you look at your options, and that you look at the training that you got. You go through the workbooks that I recommended, the AAPC CPC study guide. That is good for AHIMA or AAPC if you're studying for either one, because we all use the same CPT book. And that AAPC book is a great representation of that CPT manual, okay? It really is. I think AAPC really did get it right when they wrote that workbook. The American Hospital Association ICD-10-CM and ICD-10-PCS covers all of your diagnosis coding and your inpatient procedure coding. If that's not what you're doing, the PCS, you can skip over that part. But the ICD-10-CM part, you can definitely work through in that book. It's very good. It's got all the answers and the rationale. Again, the American Hospital Association got that one right. I do not recommend Bucks. If you're asking me about Bucks, I do not recommend Bucks at all. Hi, Blue. First of all, all of your content has been so helpful, and I just wanted to thank you for being willing to share all your knowledge and opinions with us. Oh, you're welcome. I'm so glad you tuned in. And I have such a great audience still online. I'm so surprised that we've been on for what is this, an hour and 10 minutes now. So before I get people complaining at me, I think I'll go ahead and wrap it up, because they'll be like, Blue, your videos are too long. I can't help it. When we get on a good conversation, it just, I don't look at the time, I don't pay attention to it. But, with that said, though, thank you guys so much. This has been such an incredible month, and it's been long and it's been really fast at the same time. We hit over 25,000 subscribers. We're about at 26,000 now. Am I at 26,000 now? Yes, I am at 26,000 now. I didn't even realize. So 26,000 subscribers, thanks to you all who have subscribed, who watch, who thumb up the videos, and who comment. Thank you all so much for all of that, because that helps me to reach more people. And I really do appreciate it, because I do enjoy this field, and I do like sharing the truth about it and my experiences and everything else. So I hope to continue to help more people. And again, thank you all so much. And I hope you all have a great weekend. I will see y'all again on Monday. Have a great weekend, y'all. Bye.